we are back on the podcast after having a short break over the winter holidays and over this shitstorm of a world that we're living in. So we all were having to, I think, nurture our own hearts these last couple of months, as well as the hearts of our loved ones. So Dana and Eilina and I are coming to you with the hope of opening our arms and our hearts and our coffee tables to you all and wanting to talk about the heavy kind of darkness that seems to be our leaders, our global leadership in the world. And maybe we can gather as light workers, which is really the intention of our podcast. So love seeing you girls and great to be back. Can we jump in on how you're doing in these last couple of months with all that's been happening in the world, this, especially women rising?
Before we get too into it, I just want to say also, welcome back, listeners. We have missed you. You've been on our hearts. This beautiful offering that we've created together. Just sometimes we have lives and it is our heart offering. And so when our lives are busy, we have to make sure we put our face masks on first. But you are still really, really important to us. We're always here to hold space and just reminders that we've got a beautiful library that I revisit that is still so relevant as well. So grateful to be here in community with my co-hosts and of course all the listeners.
It's good to be here in community, and I really appreciate you opening like that, Meg, just addressing this kind of collective anxiety that we're all in with essentially poor leadership in our world. And that I've been reflecting on this the last few months of like, wow, how is it that leadership gets to come into being through corruption and the desire for power? Like, it's kind of this thing of, you can make it in this earthly world when you have this drive. And when I say make it, I mean like in that kind of conventional sense of success, right? When you have this drive to garner resources and drive to control and drive to keep producing at the expense of others, whether the planet or other humans. And I've been really reflecting on that because, there are different philosophies that float around now that say that Earth is a hard school of knocks. And yeah, because it, there's not a lot of fairness. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of suffering, and those that have power, there are some great examples of those that give back, but more often than not, those that have great power tend to abuse it and create harm for others. And this is what we're looking at right now. So it is a great conversation to have on how, when it's so in our face right now, self-care practices that I've been practicing this last couple months in order for my nervous system to not go outside of my window of tolerance so that I can stay grounded enough to serve, because that's what I love doing in the form of work that I do and I provide for community. It's like we're holding a lot more, I think, than humanity has in the past. In terms of our awareness, humanity's always had a hard go at surviving on this planet, regardless of what generation we're from. No, we just have much more knowledge and information. Not a lot of it is necessarily wisdom, but we have a lot more information that like oversaturates our nervous systems. And so the practice of coming back and like grounding ourselves, resourcing ourselves, and anchoring ourselves so that we're sufficiently regulated is such a great topic for today. Love it.
I agree.
I agree. Can I just say too, like, talking about too much information, I think one of the things that has really been scaring me, like really scaring, like, I mean, everything is really scary, but one of the things, like when you watch the news and the social media, and I get that AI is like come on the scene and there's, lots of things that are good about it. But what I think really is scaring me is like the people in power who, specifically, I'm talking about the president of the United States, who is like literally unhinged and like creating chaos for like the global
sociopath.
world. Yeah. Like talks about misinformation and fake media all the time. And then he's like constantly putting out AI generated videos that are fake.
Yeah. It's a chaos theory, right? It causes mass confusion, so people do not know what to trust, which way is up,
Yeah,
and
so that is happening. Do you guys
extreme.
feel that?
Oh, absolutely. It's been happening for like a while, and I think really it happens historically too, but it's all very premeditated to create this people not knowing which way is up, who to trust, and that is through the use of AI, of course, of like words, of like particular an example of this particular president that we're talking about around the absolute flipping of things that we know we're actually like we witness them happening and then changing that dialogue and then wiping it off of the like the playbook, so to speak. So there's
Mhm.
very, very like clear manipulation, but the algorithms that go along with it can twist that truth so that people, if they perhaps don't have the ability or the resources to do some truth seeking and actually find what is true and what is not, which is
Yeah.
very, very challenging, these mistruths start to become believed as fact by certain parts of the population. And then you get this, again, further chaos, further division between all of us.
Yeah. It
Yes,
reminds me of
you're
that
right.
movie Wag the Dog or something like that. That is like perfect distraction strategies. Like this is just
Right.
brilliant distraction strategies to distract us from our own power and from our collective power democratically to, do things like vote them out or create, precincts and local contingencies that gather, collective community power, like real power versus, the what we're seeing now. So yeah.
Right. Oh my God, you're right. Distraction.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like to what you, a manipulation, distraction. Like I know we've seen it in history. I've, and I feel like it's been here and we've been watching it ever since he took office too. Even though we're in Canada, like it just affects the world, what's
Mhm.
going on. And especially because of our connectivity, right? Our internet, our, our reliance on technology. And so I just feel like in the last few months for me, I can really feel like in conversation with others and as a parent, just really feeling like people are not knowing who to trust,
Mm.
what to trust, and that you're just, trying to find those communities that are like minded where
Mhm.
you can
Yeah.
feel a sense of groundedness and reality. And that's my self care right now. And I just want to say thank you to everyone in my circle, including you guys, for being people who ground me. That's the word for me in this chaos is like my self care. I've got lots of tools, but I think one of the most important ones has been be with people who ground you.
Mhm.
Be with people who help you to stay grounded because otherwise, for me, like it feels like a tornado, like we're spinning all over the place.
I feel that way too, but I think for me, the language that I've been working with, I think is because I too, well, like both of you, we hold space regularly. I'm a full-time coach, but I need, in order for me to serve well, I need to be safe and regulated within my own self. And so I've been working with that sense of safety, right? So how can I create that in my own world so that I can show up for others and provide that safety net like we are doing here in the soul net, which is why we named it. Part of that is the net, right? This is where we're
Hmm.
catching a safe place for souls to land. And so I really have been working with in both body and brain in all my practices to have that sense of safety within myself and then try and carry that in the world. That also then helps me to maybe be a bit more discerning when I'm reading
Yes.
news and things like that, because I know what that authentic self is like and what that experience is like. And it's not in fear and it's not in of what's to come. It's not living in the past of what once was. It's able to really be in the present moment.
Mm, beautiful.
It's like that
Yeah.
saying nervous systems are contagious. And so
Mhm.
to speak to what you were sharing there, Meg, about being with people that you feel can help anchor you and ground you, there's this, it's very palpable, the collective anxiety that is felt by pretty much everyone. We're overstimulated, we're fatigued, And it's kind of
Mhm.
like this wired but tired feeling, right? Where we're
Yeah.
like, too much information, super stimulated, and there's just like we're bombarded constantly with this distraction that both of
Mhm.
you are you know talking on. And as the distraction keeps bombarding us, it's like we need our own practices that help us re-regulate, because otherwise we can't fully rest. And that's kind of how they like it.
Yeah,
In
Totally.
terms of keeping the structures that serve them, because the 1% or whatever we want to call it is very greedy, and they never are full. Like they're very hungry for more,
yeah,
and so it really is about like profit and continuing profit for them. And so they profit by us being distracted, and if we can't fully rest, we're much more vulnerable to continue being distracted, which kind of keeps the machine going.
yeah,
It's so true.
yeah.
It's so true. And like, and watching what's happening with women
Mhm.
and like, the triggers for women,
Mhm.
like, the assaults on
Very much.
women,
The
like
gaslighting of
the
very real
gaslighting,
experiences,
like
yeah.
all
Mhm.
of the, like, I mean, it's
Yeah,
so triggering for
yeah.
women,
Yep, absolutely.
right? So triggering. So that's another thing that's happening and affecting because we're so connected online. And as women, we're nurturers, like by
Yeah.
nature. And so, this has really been hard for, I think, all women in general. But to your point, though, almost like it's like old school want to break the collective women group down,
Yep.
like, let's just keep breaking it down, keep going until they like I get the sense that it's
Form,
like, yes.
fall in line, like
Or
they
they fucking break down, like literally break down. Like in the olden days, it would be like a nervous breakdown. Like I feel like they're just like keep gaslighting to see that at what
Yeah.
point will they
Yeah.
just get too tired? And I'm like, I don't think it's gonna fucking happen.
I don't think so
Mhm.
either, Meg. I think if any of us, like, especially our Gen X that are like, I think we are like loud and like not gonna have any of it. And I agree with you, like so much of, I mean, this Epstein pieces and all of these sexual assault pieces, as a woman who has been sexually assaulted, I think many of us have. We grew up in a time where this stuff was normal. I was watching Family Feud with my son, love watching the show. We found an old episode that was in the 70s when we would have been growing up as young children. And I watched the host of this show kiss on the lips every single woman that
Mm,
was on the show. He would grab her, some of them that he found attractive, he'd kiss
yeah.
multiple times on the lips. He'd also make
God.
comments about, if you didn't have those glasses, you'd be such a beauty. Like,
Mhm.
so inappropriate. But this, I remember this growing up. I remember
Yeah.
being a teenager and the hunger with which men would
Yeah.
look at me.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
empathic, have always been sensitive. So you add that into like feeling like very like there's a predator
Yeah.
around you, even just in your
That's right.
everyday. And these were your
Yeah.
parents' friends. These were, your teachers. These were like so many different coaches, so many different
Mhm.
expressions
Right.
of it. So we kind of understand this. And I know right now I've been triggered by it too, but I am not having any of it anymore.
Mhm.
What came out very, very clearly with when I watched that episode, and again, Anthony and I watched it together. He, as a 28-year-old generation that our kids are, was
Yep.
horrified that
Wow.
this was
Yeah.
what we grew up in and this was
Yeah.
okay, because that's
Yeah.
he's grown up in a world that this is not okay. This is not how you treat women. But for us, that was kind of the norm.
The norm. Yeah, so true.
So how are you staying safe, Dee? Like this is triggering for you and Eilena, this, for different reasons it's triggering, right?
For me, taking a break from the news is huge. I like to educate myself. I like to know what's going on. I went down some pretty deep rabbit holes for a while of curiosity around a lot of the Epstein stuff, of course, all the stuff with the Trump and how that all kind of interconnects. And then I found myself, and those are areas of myself that like I did a lot of deep healing, and I have done, and I actually stepped away. I was like, this is not helping me, because I was noticing I was kind of coming back into those places that, um, I don't feel like I need to live there anymore. And so stepping away from all of the media and really pumping the brakes on how much I am online, really, really helpful for me, like 1,000%. And I cannot say that enough. And even though I have the experience as a coach as well of knowing that like we're digesting everything that I'm conscious of and or is in my subconscious, I was taking in way too much of that negativity and I was feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
The doom scrolling that would go on for like, more than half an hour. I'd sit down for like 5 minutes and all of a sudden like an hour's gone by and it's just been reinforcing the same thing in a different voice or something like that. So stepping away from news, like huge, huge, huge. And then, of course, like, I think when we think about our, like, the mind and body's needs just from a personal and a coaching perspective, we have to, like, balance both the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So we gotta make sure that we're down regulating one and then building up the other. So, time in nature for sure, that kind of regulation. For me, like, again, where I put my focus into, so my work, like, I love the work that I do. I'm always excited about it. So doing my continuing education pieces, learning how I can, make myself, feel and, the healthiest expression of myself and then help carry that forward into the work that I do with my clients, especially in a time when so many people are not feeling that safety or that groundedness. So being that tree and that anchor for others, really, really helpful. It helps me feel purposeful. It helps me feel like I'm contributing to in a time where there feels like there's very little that can be done. So I think those are two of like really, really important pieces for me is like cutting out one of the pieces of like the news and those side of things and how much I'm taking in, and then counterbalancing that with the goodness and the pieces and the practices that do help me feel my best.
I feel that. I feel that. And the passion for your work. But also like Eilina, you've got a new book out and you're passionate about. So I was just thinking like passion probably is a really something to think about, like what makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it, because I noticed myself feeling, well, the opposite of alive, kinda dead with the amount of overstimulation that I experienced when at first the Epstein files came out. So I'll kinda take you on a journey of how I kinda came around full circle. Because what I noticed recently that has changed for me, and I just shared this with a client yesterday actually, is we just kind of came up with a nickname for it, less gym, more joy. And what that
Mm.
means for me is like, I love working out and I love hiking, working my muscles, maintaining my muscle mass. In menopause, we know this is very important, and bone density. And I do it in the gym, but I try to do it more outdoors because for me, I don't really enjoy the gym anymore. And what I noticed is that as I was in the gym, I was doing my mental to do list checking off, but there wasn't the feeling of joy feeling
Yeah.
accessed. So I find ways to do the similar movements and activities, but outdoors in nature where I feel very alive, whether it's, by the ocean. I mean, yesterday when I went for my hike, I was again rubbing my hands on the trees and on the moss and on the bark of the tree. And it just, this grounding in nature. And, you, Meg, as you take people in and you do, forest therapy, it
Mm-hmm.
is so essential for me to regulate my nervous system in menopause with nature. And then I
Mm-hmm.
lots of cuddle time with my partner, lots of touching, even with the dog, lots of touching, tile touching to kind of reground my system from all the charge of this overstimulation that we live in with the amount of media that we're assaulted by. A month ago, I felt like I had to take myself into consciously the dark night of the soul of our collective psyche. So
Mm-hmm.
I did, I went down the route and I was like, I wasn't in a dark place. I was feeling the darkness of our collective psyche. Personally, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in a dark place, but my nervous system took a battering to do that.
Absolutely.
And it took
For
me a
sure.
few weeks to come out of that. And but I was pretty conscious about like, whoa, I really went down into the deep end with the collective psyche, very aware of all the horrors that occurred in, what's being exposed now. And then I kind of brought it back to the sense of, okay, the veil's off.
Yeah.
The pink goggles or the drunk goggles are off. Like, let's
Yeah.
just see reality as it is. And then I kind of brought back some regulation exercises. I avoided news and media for about a week and a half, got
Mhm.
my system back online, and now I'm in this place where I'm like careful. But I just let myself in the beginning go into the deep end, and then now I'm just, and I it almost felt like that needed to happen for me to really kind of touch the sense of some of the despair that is
Mhm.
being felt, and particularly for women, for the victims, right? And not
Yeah.
just for the Epstein files, but globally, like
Yeah.
just
Right.
remembering how our ancestors have, and women still alive
Endured.
now, suffer. So regulation practices for me personally now are very important. So I'm still staying reasonably within. Like, I can tell when it's going off.
Mhm.
I'll just bring it back in. But it's so important, like the lifeboat that we talk about in our podcast, so important to have those daily rituals that keep us sufficiently regulated so that I think we're all finding out together how to do this, you know?
I feel like that's exactly it. Like the podcast that we birthed here, the book that you're writing, Eilina, the work that you're doing, Dee, with your in the gym and outside too, and nature,
Mhm.
you do also, and I do. I feel like we're learning. It's like next level. Like we're leveling up now. That's what it feels like to me
Yes.
too. We're
Yes, yes,
leveling up,
yes.
and
Yeah.
that is exciting. Like I just want to say it's exciting to
Yes.
be leveling up and learning about what human connectivity is, remembering. It's like we're remembering. It was so interesting because my husband's like, he made this comment. It's like, maybe you should just focus on like, staying in the moment and in Vancouver, like where we live. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so interesting the perspective, right? Because I'm like, if one woman is suffering on the other side of the world, we are all fucking suffering.
Yeah.
It's in the fabric of our being to can't not pay attention to what is happening, right? Like south of the border and all around the world, what is happening, the ripples.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say, like, every person out there that's feeling it, good for you for feeling it.
That's part of the
And
leveling up.
Yeah.
That's
that's
part of
part
yeah.
of the leveling up. And we are here feeling it with you. We
Yeah.
are walking alongside you, hugging the damn fucking trees
Yeah.
and lifting the weights, even though they're not as big anymore when you're in your 50s. But we are with you and feel it.
Yeah.
Like, feel it with support.
Yeah, with support.
Get your feet on the ground. Because if you're not feeling it,
It means you're
and
bypassing. Yeah.
You're
you're
bypassing.
bypassing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 But to speak to the support piece is like, find your tribe, and it doesn't have to be a big tribe. And nature is part of the tribe. Animals are part of the tribe.
Yeah.
Plants are part of the tribe. Like, but have a tribe. We're not meant to figure this out by ourselves. We're not meant to be hyper independent. Those of us
Mhm.
that are hyper independent, I mean, it's a trauma response. Let's wake up to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, feeling like it's, I got to figure it out all on my own. That's a trauma response. And I mean, that was my whole, teens and early 20s and most of my 20s. So we
Yeah.
can we can evolve out of that and lean into our community and grow our community. If we don't have one, or if the one we're currently in is toxic, can disengage and grow something that is healthier and supports us and nourishes us. Because I think we're all relearning what nourishes. We're all
Individually.
overstimulated. Yeah.
That's right.
I also, I've always liked to think about the people that are either introverts or don't have a large circle. And I shared this on one of my socials a little while ago too, because I was really feeling into the vibrations that were happening. And I was like, how can we offer things for people to step away from the the doom scrolling or whatever they're being surrounded with that is negative. And I just feel like there are so many ways. There's so many, I love David Hawkins' work from the map of consciousness standpoint. And he offers, like, even his one of the books that is just breaks down the map of consciousness. He breaks down music, he breaks down authors, he
Yeah.
breaks down all sorts of different things that we could lean into in our free time Yeah, that has a vibration level that's going to rise us up, even just by taking in the information, whether that's through the senses, like, I mean, Meg can talk about that too, the sensory experience. So if we can't meet with other people, we can find that in the books that we read. We can find that in the literature that we surround ourselves with, in the music that we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
Bringing our vibrations up can happen just by being in connection and community with people. But if we can't find the people or the animals, like you mentioned, Eilina, we could surround ourselves with the books or
Yeah.
the musicians that
Music.
came before, that have that level, that frequency that
Yeah.
helps to unstick the sticky parts.
Totally. Totally.
When we speak about David Hawkins' work and the frequency and the high vibe, it doesn't have to be, it's not fast paced.
Mm-mm.
It's like we're talking, yeah, like it can be slow,
Yeah.
groovy,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
a slow walk, like a meander on the trail. Like it is not about high frequency, is not high pace necessarily.
No. Well, and if I might share, Ayurveda brought in the mind body connection very, very clearly to me. And I've been going into a lot of now back into the science aspects, but around like neuroscience and neurology and how we're creating like safety in the brain. We can do a brain exercise, which are like simple. You can sit on your sofa. There's no parameters around. Like, you don't have to worry about eating before you do it with some of the breathwork practices you do. You don't have to worry about getting sweaty. You don't have to leave your bed or your pajamas. And you could do a 2-minute neural exercise and increase that sense of safety within yourself. So I feel like this is a time where we need to understand also how technology and mass information is changing our brains, but our brains are also old software. You have to defragment that software. So you have to get rid of the junk, and then you have to create healthy pathways within that brain. So if you're looking for something and it's not movement and it's not nature and you're really freaking stuck, a neural exercise might actually be a cool like pathway for someone to go down and explore, that is so simple but will start you going in the direction of feeling safer within yourself. Happy to offer up one that I found, I will say, is pretty like safe for everybody. What I actually really like about it is it has a direct impact on our posture muscles, which also relates to most of us spending our digital time kind of looking down on our phones. So I just encourage listeners to Google it. It's called an H drill. We use the tracing of the eyes, the tracking of the eyes to help create a sense of safety. So just to give it a bit of, background, if we could take our kind of mind's eye into anytime we have reduction or a complete dissolution of any of the sensory. So, say we lose our sight, or we lose our sense of hearing, or a sense of smell, like many of us have experienced, maybe with a little bit of COVID too. What starts to really happen inside the brain is like everything starts to get really a lot smaller. The world starts to really shrink. And you can see that when my father has a hearing aid now, but you can sense his frustration when he can't hear and can't participate in certain environments. He gets angry because he's the rager, and that's his response to it. And really, it's just because his brain doesn't feel safe because he can't interpret where anything is actually coming from. So if you think about that sense of like feeling unsafe, sensory drills have a really great way of increasing that sense of safety. So this H drill, look it up. It's a neurological drill, neuroscience, neural training, anything kind of in that, Google thing will show up this exercise. H drill, do it. Start with, depending on how sensitive your system is, I'd say you could do 1 repetition, see how that feels for you. You can do, we test it with mobility too. The great thing about like brain drills is they have a global effect on both the body and the mind. So instead of kind of a local effect, so I could test, say, my neck mobility, and I could then do this sensory H drill, and I would see reductions in senses of pain. I would also potentially see increases in range of motion in that particular joint. So you could do, say, a little like neck rotation exercise, and then you would do this H drill, and then you'd test your next rotation again, and you would see that it's improved or you're feeling less sensations of pain. So this H drill is a really great way of opening up that sense of sight and that sense of safety. Also, bonus helps to typically decrease, senses of like pain and or increase range of motion.
Oh, okay. So the H drill.
Speaking of that, when I wake up in the morning, I wake up with quite a cortisol dump. It's just how my body functions now in menopause, and I've gotten used to that. So how I soothe it is I'll go out to the patio, and so it's outside, so I get that morning light in my eyes, and this is before I do anything. And I'm still in my pajamas, so my neighbors across the way are seeing me in my pajamas every morning swinging. I do my arm swings and a few breathwork exercises, the like it's a total about 5 minutes swinging the arms, rocking the hips, breath work, and kind of just waking up and allowing the cortisol dump to like move its way through me, and the consequential anxious feelings and sensations and emotions that will come up with the cortisol dump. And just within 5 minutes, like I'll wake up like achy and inflamed, and my body's like, I don't want to start the day. No, go back to bed. And then just that 5 minutes is just like this soothing thing that's like, we can face the world. It's like it's a time that I tell all my younger parts, I got you, we're here together. Like we're still here, so clearly we're meant to, keep going.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's kind of like this is just like playful time in the morning. And then I come back into the apartment and it's like, okay, now I can do my day. And it's like we're saying these, as we are leveling up and as our nervous systems are getting exposed to so much more, the spectrum is much bigger now. We're in the bigger playing field, we're holding a lot more. So these practices, however it works for you to like be able to come back home to yourself and feel the worthiness of your own system, the fact that you're here, you're alive, your body's supporting you in some way and just needs some of that attention, your awareness towards yourself. And then you can go back into the world, because the world is bigger now. It just seems there's just more that we are being bombarded with. And so these reconnection, coming back home practices are so important.
And I'll just add to that because you were talking about senses. And I'll just say, because as a nature therapist, one thing that listeners can do, an easy exercise in the morning or at night or whenever you have 5 minutes, is just to check in with your senses and maybe write down, like, so really sit with what you're smelling, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting. Like you can have like, like a strawberry or a blueberry and just like really savor it, like sip it, taste it, and then write about it. So take 5 minutes, you can focus on one sense and then, really sit with that sense for 5 minutes and then write down what it was that you sensed. And this is an awareness drill. This gets you. So if you're not comfortable like sitting in stillness and silence and whatever it is, then you can just be with a sense or a few senses and spend a minute there, like really like honoring that sense. Like, what are you smelling? And then describe it in a word or two or a phrase. And it'll just bring you back to your body. And so that's an easy thing you can do that keeps you engaged. Now, I just want to say too, as we all know, it's dedication to your wellness, to that self-awareness, that self-love, and to feel calm. And if it's really hard for you to take those 5 minutes in the morning or at night, or, I would just say, reach out. Reach out. Dana has a coaching practice. I have a forest therapy practice. Eilina has her informed trauma IFS training. Reach out to us by email, soulsisters@gmail.com. You'll find each one of us online and our own socials, and we can maybe, help, or we can point you in a direction.
I can help close us off in a little breath practice that just helps to bring us back home. We can find a comfortable seat, and I'll demonstrate it first, and then we can do it together in community. But it's 2 simple inhales through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth. And on that second inhale, we can lift the shoulders so it looks like this. So we can try it together.
Let's do it.
Well, we can let's do a round of 6 together. So getting ready, 2 inhales through the nose and then exhale through the mouth. 2 more. And we can vocalize on the exhale, whatever feels natural and good for the body to release.
Beautiful.
So to our listeners, we'll be back soon. Stay tuned into your body.
Yeah. Much love, friends.